Afghan national arrested in ISIS inspired election day terror attack. In a significant counterterrorism operation, the FBI arrested 27-year-old Afghan national Nasir Ahmad Tawhedi in Oklahoma on October 7th for allegedly planning a violent election day attack in support of the Islamic State. Tawhidi, who arrived in the US in 2021 after the US withdrawal from Afghanistan, was reportedly plotting with his brother in law, who was a minor, by the way. He was plotting to conduct this attack with his brother in law, who was unnamed in the indictment because that brother in law is a child and has certain legal protections for his identity because he's a child. Okay. So we don't know how old this kid was.
Uh,
But just to clarify, okay, so he was reportedly plotting this attack with his brother in law and another co conspirator to carry out the attack, which federal prosecutors said would have targeted large gatherings. According to the criminal complaint, the conspirators sold their family home, purchased firearms and ammunition, and planned to relocate their families abroad in preparation for the attack. The FBI accessed electronic records showing Tawhidi had viewed ISIS propaganda and contributed $540 in cryptocurrency to a Syrian charity that is a front for ISIS. During his interrogation, Tawhidi admitted that he and his brother in law had purchased two AK 47s for the attack and expected to be martyred. Tawhidi remains in custody as the investigation continues, and his legal team has yet to respond to the charges against him. So, this was very, very interesting. And one thing I love when these indictments are unsealed is you can go find the criminal complaint, and it's usually written by the FBI special agent that was in charge of this case, and it lays out all their evidence. And you kind of get to like see behind the scenes a little bit. Like the complaint written by the FBI
you're
agent like
such a
contains
nerd.
like I know, I'm such a
You're
nerd.
so-
It contains, like, all the screenshots of, like, the ISIS propaganda they were watching and, like, their ISIS PDFs, and it shows all the images that they were, like, looking at and all this stuff, and I'm like, "Ooh, let me see, like, what they're talking about." And it's also cool because it's very transparent or as transparent, as they can be. This is obviously highly classified, um, but I feel like kinda I think it's cool that our government, like, releases that amount of information, as part of the ongoing complaint. Um, so shouts out to all the FBI special agents, again, protecting the lives of Americans. So, basically, um, we know that this man and his family entered the United States after the Taliban took over Afghanistan in 2021. Now, the exact way that he entered the United States is not completely clear. There's some conflicting reports that I was reading. So, at first, it seemed like he was in the country on the special visas that the United States created for our allies in Afghanistan. And then it seems like he didn't actually come in on that visa, but he was paroled within the program for Afghan nationals after the takeover of the Taliban. Um, and so he's technically still his application is pending for a green card. Technically, I don't think he's gonna get his green card. So the exact method of like his immigration status is like a little bit, confusing and up in the air. But regardless, so how this guy first ended up on their radar, I'm not entirely sure. But what we do know was that once he was on their radar, I mean, he was in like Telegram channels and all this stuff. What happened was, or this is, I found this kind of funny. So he was creating this plan. And in this plan, he was going to take his family and his wife's family because the child that he was plotting this attack with is actually his wife's brother, kid brother. Whoops. So his plan was to sell all their property, sell the family's house, sell their assets, and repatriate the family to Afghanistan. So send everyone back to Afghanistan. And then he was going to conduct this attack. So what happened was sorry, I don't know why I find this so funny. So he was on Facebook Marketplace selling a bunch of his stuff. And so the FBI approached him, except, they didn't say it like that. So what happened was that as this guy was selling a bunch of his stuff on Facebook Marketplace, the FBI, gets in the listings of his DMs, the messaging of his DMs, asking, just starting a normal conversation about buying some of the random stuff he's putting on Facebook Marketplace. And as the conversation between the buyer and the seller on Facebook Marketplace continues, the buyer, secretly the FBI, starts talking about, "Oh, yeah, I actually sell guns and I actually like train people to have guns and all this stuff." And so, oh my God, here I am looking to plan a terrorist attack. And who starts talking to me in my Facebook Marketplace? But none other than a weapons dealer.
No way. No way.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. How convenient. Oh my God. I mean, it must have been, sent by God himself. Um, I mean, if
Oh
that's
my
not guys, God sends us signs.
god. It's funny.
So basically, he has this conversation between buyer and seller. It turns out that the buyer, like sells guns and stuff. And so they meet up and I think they have like they meet each other in person, and then they maybe do some stuff on a range or something, and then they actually have a weapons sale. Okay, but guess what happens? When you're talking to a secret FBI agent and then you officially conduct a transaction in the furtherance of terrorism, they go get your ass right there. So it's like they literally do the exchange and it's like you're arrested. So yeah. So that's how it went down. Um yeah, they arrest right after because they have proof that you just did the illegal transaction because you just literally did the transaction with them. So um that's how he ended up getting arrested. And
And you also have to prove as that it's not entrapment. So you have to prove that the FBI has to prove that they didn't cause this man to want to do a terrorist attack, right? He was trying to do a terrorist attack, and we just gave him we just told him the means to do it, but we didn't make him want to do it. If the when it goes to court and stuff, if there's any evidence that the FBI was pushing him to do it, then that would be the defense lawyer would actually use that against the FBI. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, that is one more failed ISIS attack on
that's
America for the books.
yeah. I also want to say, like, it seems like when we're looking at these Western countries governments, we have a mixed feeling of being disappointed with the immigration officers, like and also being quite often impressed by the intelligence officers. So it's like, thank you FBI or CIA for keeping us safe, and then also we start swearing at whoever is managing the freaking borders. Is that like, I think like this is what we're dealing with, like, I don't know, like, do you guys get the same, you know, polar, feelings, like you constantly are impressed and thanking them, to all of a sudden going back to swearing at the other, at the immigration, I don't know. I think
Mhm.
like it's an interesting contrast, but
As
thank
a
you
side
FBI for your
note,
service. Mm.
I want to say that so I've been reading some explosive reports that have come out recently that I've been telling Armin a little bit about. I read this report that was basically possibly one of the most extensive reports on Iran's soft power network within religious institutions in the United States. And another report that examines 150 different nonprofit and protest groups that are driving the anti-Israel movement that are literally explicitly pro-terror. Um, and what I've been thinking, reading the report about the Iranian soft power network, um, I think Canada should be thanking our intelligence services because the report highlighted that
Right.
a lot of Iranian operations that occur within Canada actually end up getting prosecuted by our government. Like a lot.
Okay. Okay, Susie. Canada is a very, very tiny country compared to the big ass United States. Okay. It's just like the entire, like, yeah, of course, we're going to need Americans helping us. Like, don't look at the geographic size of Canada. The entire population of Canada is less than California. This is
Yeah,
a
we're comparable.
tiny
It's
ass,
about the same. Yeah.
this is a tiny ass country. Okay. Like, what do you want? Okay. You're our big brother. We need your help.
I want you to keep your shit together, okay? You're becoming a liability up there. No, I'm kidding. I actually do have a lot of respect for like, especially our allies within the Five Eyes network.
Mm.
But just when I was reading through these reports, like over and over and over again, it talked about an operation in Canada that was then prosecuting the United States, like over and over and over again. I was like, what the hell is going on here? um, by the
Yeah.
way, in one of these reports, this is just a little fun fact. I don't know if people know that Hezbollah has a genuine network within the United States and has for decades. Um, but the funny thing is about the Hezbollah network within the United States is that a lot of people that are a part of it are merely motivated for financial gain, not ideologically
Yeah, that's the
married to
difference
it.
between
But
Hezbollah and Hamas. Yeah.
yeah. So what's so interesting is that some of the Hezbollah operations within the United States have involved cigarette smuggling in like the hundreds of millions and also counterfeit Viagra.
Wow.
I was just reading this
Hezbollah.
report
Okay.
and I was like, what the hell?
Counterfeit Viagra being sold by Hezbollah to fund terrorism.
Um,
Interesting.
but
Interesting.
people, please let me know in the live chat if you would be interested in us covering one of these reports. I
Yeah,
just
maybe that
started.
would be a good story. Hezbollah into being into counterfeit Viagra selling to
Yeah.
fund their terrorist activities. That's an interesting story. I want to see it. I
Yeah,
want
and
to.
also like how the Iranian influence network works within US religious institutions. Um
Yeah, but that should be
and
the title. The Viagra should be in the title for sure. That would get more clicks.
okay, but if I did do the Viagra case, that's actually like not a new thing, but we could still cover it.
Does it matter? Yeah,
Um
we should cover it.
I also really want to cover this report about the domestic anti-Israel protest movement because I'm only a little bit in the beginning of this report and it is jaw-dropping. Also, and I know the person who wrote it, so I'm maybe thinking of maybe having him on the show. Um, but
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
this report has me convinced that this protest movement is nothing except pro-terror, literally pro-terror, and students for justice in Palestine, SJP for short, which is the kind of the backbone of this movement, is Hamas. That's actually what I'm convinced of now.
We need to cover this. I think more people need to know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gina's
And
saying
I
yes,
mean
yes.
I mean that they are Hamas in the sense that they have literally sworn allegiance to them.
Yeah.
The same way that someone can like be a lone actor and swear their allegiance to ISIS and then be considered an ISIS member, like
Yeah,
that in that
yeah,
sense.
do a stream with that guy. Do a stream, just you and him. That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah.
I think we
I'll
need
have
this.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a very impressive
Um,
researcher.
I
Um,
do want to highlight these comments
oh,
though
yeah, yeah,
before we
yeah.
move on.
Sorry, that was a bit of a
Yeah, yeah.
diversion.
What
Some of
I'm
this
saying.
I spent hours reading these reports recently, and it's just jaw-dropping. Some things are jaw-dropping. Anyways, sorry. This person's the account Love Democrat Tears saying we can thank Biden Harris for this. This is just the beginning. Okay, and then scroll down.
Okay.
Saying, okay, let's take a step and understand the man was radicalized before he arrived here and realized that the state could not possibly have vetted most, if not all, of the Afghanis Biden Harris relocated here, as Afghanistan doesn't have the resources and infrastructure that would allow it. And I think there's some level of truth to that.
Mhm.
It was
They
so
just dumped
chaotic.
all these people there. So they just like, oh, let's just bring all these people here without vetting them.
I don't, but it was complicated because there were also like so many of our allies that have received approval and, access because they were working with the US military for years that were left behind. You know what I
Yeah, but
mean?
I
Like there
mean,
were
it
people that should
doesn't.
have been given access that weren't given access.
I know, but
Which is
like, doesn't the U.S. have a record of who was working for us? Like, that should be an easy. Like, you pay these people. These people are on the books. These people, there's record. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, we have some allies that we need to move to the U.S. or else Taliban will kill them. All right, get the
and by the way,
specific
their
people.
biometric data ended up getting leaked to the Taliban. I don't know if
Oh,
people know that.
fantastic! Wow.
Yeah.
But
Horrible.
why did like I don't understand how hard it is to just separate those people that were helping American soldiers from these other people. Like, that should be a very simple vetting process. I don't know. Maybe I don't
Yeah, well, then
understand
it's
this.
also complicated because then if you have to because of the nature of how everything happened, you have to evacuate people and then do some screening after the fact. Like that's how some people end up on parole within their immigration process. So then like that process is ongoing. Here, it's kind of a mess. Um,
I, Susanna Momo in the live chat has a very specific request. Can you actually do this for him? Momo is saying, Susanna, I want you read this one. This is for you.
I want those tens of billions of US dollars helping US, is it us farms or US farms? Not Israel or Ukraine. Okay.
Okay, Susanna, can you make a call? Can you make this happen? I mean, I think Momo thinks that you're very influential in US politics.
Siri, call Kamala Harris.
Okay. And why is this Momo obsessed with you? I mean, I know why. Why am I even asking? Why am I even asking? Anyways.
We got one question. So, um, or Hirschfield is asking, are the Yazidis pro-Israelis like the Kurds? I don't have a ton of familiarity with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. And also I
Yeah.
know that there are some Kurds that are big supporters of Israel, but there are also many more that are not. Um, so it's not a simple yes or no unanimous decision. Like many Kurds support Israel from the perspective of they had to f- give their lives to fight Islamism, so they recognize that same threat. Some Kurds I've seen support Israel from the perspective of they want their own state similar to that of Israel, so that's why they kind of have an affinity. And then there are plenty of others that do not. It's a diverse group. Um,
So I have the answer. Yazidis don't have a unified stance on Israel. Some sympathize with Israel due to shared experiences of persecution, especially after ISIS attacks. Israel's support for Yazidis during the genocide has led some to view it positively, but opinions vary across the community. That's the answer.
um, yeah.
I wanted to highlight this super chat to show. So Nas was saying either humanity ends Zionism or Zionism will end humanity. I just want to highlight this comment to basically show how much we need Zionism. With this mindset, this is the reason why we need Israel. Zionism will end humanity. Look at the perspective that some people have. This is this is exactly why we need Israel, because this is the view that is spreading, that it is spreading among a lot of people. Like this actually is a threat to, you know, Jewish people. I mean, the people who take such strong positions against Zionism are actually confirming Zionism. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.